I think it was pretty appropriate for the time, you know, and I think in some ways it was maybe even revolutionary. You know, we made a lot of music and not so many words, you know, and it went on and on and on for minutes, you know, and a person could really get into a mood and stay there for a while, which I think even now I would like to do in my music more. Did I ever feel like laughing? I laughed so much during that song. That's why I knew I couldn't do the song, because I would laugh and then I'd get hysterical and I'd say, well, shut the lights off. Then he'd shut the lights off, then I couldn't see the page. Then he'd turn it back up, then I'd be like, okay, well, then I'd be too close to the mic, then I'd be too far. Then he'd put the mic close to the floor and I'd sing it down here, then I'd stand up. It was a hysterical song to record.
And did you find it harder if they were watching you?
Oh, it was impossible. They couldn't watch. That's why they had to shut the lights off in the booth, and I had to have the lights almost totally dark.
Feel around.
Yes. Oh.
When you've done a record like that, do you think that people expect you to be very different? You said you had a completely different image, and then you did that record virtually as a sort of tryout, thinking another singer would do it.
Right.
And then did everyone expect you to be sort of ravingly sexy when they met you?
Yes, it was terrible. I mean, reporters would come and they'd be like this, like I was going to jump them or something. And I'm like, oh, what are you so nervous for? I'm pretty normal.
Things, your records seem to have changed quite a lot, because they went from being sexy sort of disco records into things that perhaps were more aware of women's roles and the way women live. Do you think that was a conscious thing? Things like She Works Hard for the Money and Bad Girls and...
Well, yeah, I think it was pretty conscious. I've always been very socially aware of what's going on around me. And when I first started writing, I think Giorgio and Pete and, you know, the record company and everything, they had much more control and much more say. But as I became more and more successful, I began to have more say-so in the things that I was doing. And I began to tell that to my producers, and that I wanted to sing about those things. And actually, Bad Girls had been recorded, for example, 2 years before they would allow me to release it. And because they didn't think that it was a song for me. Okay, it was the biggest song I ever had, as far as, you know, and it was very interesting because it really did a lot to change that image. It sort of gave me a more of a, what is the word, subjective, well, no, it didn't make me so much the object, it made me sort of the teller, you know, and it sort of removed me a little bit from all of that, which was great. I think that the message in Hard for the Money, for me, is that we never know who we're going to meet up with. We never know where we are. It's very important and vital that whether you're Donna Summer or whether you're President Reagan or Queen Elizabeth or whomever, it's important if you're just in no one, if you're just somebody that, you know, lives from one day to the next, that you're careful how you treat other people.
How did you become a Christian? How did it happen?
How did it happen? It happened
'Cause
one
it
day.
kind of happens to people, doesn't
It
it?
happens, yeah. You know, I think people get to a place in their lives where, especially when you are successful and you've reached your goals, and you realize that there's nothing there. It's empty. It's the same old room. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be with anyone in the world. It could be the same meal. It could be the same million coats. It could be a million diamond rings. It doesn't mean anything. You know, you get to a point where you realize that what happens after this? You know, it's like you get to like this elevated place that you're always striving for in your life, and then you get there and it's like, okay, and nothing comes.
Give me your unconditional love, kind of love I deserve, the kind I want to return. Give me your unconditional love, kind of love I deserve, the kind I want to return. Everybody say, give me your unconditional love, kind of love I deserve, the kind I want to return. Give me your unconditional love. I don't have to discern this agape love to learn.
Did it change your attitude to things that you'd done in the past and change your attitude for work in the future? It must have done, because it's hard, I would imagine, to reconcile being an incredibly sexy, glamorous pop singer with suddenly discovering.
Well, it is in some ways. What happens is you begin to understand where you've been misled. And, you know, what, for example, what beauty really is, what love really is, what God says love is, and what we say is human beings in a human sense what love is. I mean, there are 4 different kinds of love.
What's supernatural love like?
What is it like?
Yeah. Do you think it's a sort of meshing now between love songs and religious songs and all sorts
For me?
of... Yeah.
Yeah, I think, for
I think
me
it's a sort of
personally,
double-edged meaning now.
absolutely. I think that everything in my life has a double meaning. I mean, I'm just so incredibly conscious of the power of God all the time in my life, constantly. I mean, when I get on a plane, I don't cease to thank God that he's keeping it in the air, you know? I mean, he's everywhere with me. When you travel a lot, you become very dependent on God, because there are things that happen that you have no control over, and you hope that you're in his favor.